Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Today, we've got 3 stories packed with chaos, pettiness, and just the right amount of revenge. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Apparently, I was just hired for decoration. For reference, I'm a 5'2" stick insect of a girl who was 22 at the time and also 6 months pregnant. I was working in a tech store. We sold computers, laptops, phones, music devices, Bluetooth speakers, cables, and so on. We also did lessons where people could sit with us for an hour and we would teach them about how to use their devices. Generally, this was taken up by older people who weren't so tech knowledgeable. One day, there was no one in the store, so my coworkers decided to clear out loads of junk in the back room. Since I was pregnant and there was going to be heavy lifting, they had me manning the floor. Since there was no one in, this basically meant I was just floating around daydreaming until a guy comes in. The uniform was black jeans and a bright blue t-shirt with the store logo on the front and back and a white lanyard with the store name and then worker's name on it. I was wearing this at the time. I go up to the guy and ask if he needs any help. He asks if there are any men available to help him. I tell him that whilst there are other staff in, they're currently busy in the back and will not be available to help customers for some time. I asked him what he wanted help with. He said, "Listen, honey, you're in a delicate condition right now. I wouldn't want to stress your pretty head now, would I?" WTF. I calmly told him that I'd be perfectly fine dealing with his issue, but if he wanted to wait for another 2 hours, another member of staff may be available then. He smirks at me and then asks about one of the laptops on show. He tells me he wants a gaming computer. Not that you'd know anything about that, sweetheart. I then give him my most jargon-filled speech about the laptop and point out that it's not at all suited to gaming, and that if he was set on a laptop, he would be best picking another model. I point out the one best suited to this, give a jargon speech about that one too, and then smile as sweetly as I can at him and ask if he's still following. He seems aghast and actually gasps at me. I was trying so hard not to laugh at him. He asks how I know all that stuff. I tell him I've been gaming since I was 6 years old, build computers for fun, and have PS, Xbox, PC, and a laptop for gaming. I know my stuff. There's a reason I was hired here. He says nothing for a moment, and then, "But I thought girls in shops like this were just to make it look nice, and because they have to or something." No, sir. I'm one of the most knowledgeable workers in the store aside from the manager. And then he just walks out, and when he gets to the door, I hand him the leaflet we have for the lessons. "If you need anything else explained to you, I'd be happy to help you figure it out, sir." And off he went. I was so pissed that he actually had the gall to speak like that to anyone, let alone a very hormonal pregnant person. God, I wanted to just rip him to pieces. He genuinely seemed to think I was only hired because, by the laws of discrimination, etc., they had to have at least one female member on staff, and that I was therefore hired to attract male customers with my looks. That guy was a jerk. You don't make assumptions about a person that you don't know. Everyone should know that. You can argue that the IT space is widely male-dominant, but that doesn't excuse his stupid comments at all. And our second story. I was fired for office politics, then they came crawling back. Back in the early 2010s, I worked for a tech company. Since I'd moved interstate, I was working from home, which gave me some insulation from the office politics, especially between 2 bosses who I'll refer to as good boss and bad boss, which was quickly turning the company into a blazing trash fire. One morning, good boss gave me the heads up to say that he had officially resigned, so I wasn't too surprised when bad boss called me a few hours later to tell me that I would no longer be working for the company. Having no wish to work for bad boss, I cheerfully asked him if he wanted me to finish up the rest of the day or knock off work early, and he informed me that I should stop work immediately. I wasn't the only person fired that day, as everyone with any allegiance to good boss was marched out the door. Did I mention that good boss ran the tech side of things and bad boss was sales and marketing? So a few days after I got fired, I got a phone call from the remaining rapidly promoted newbie tech guy asking me to please help him with a specific problem that I recognized immediately from his description. It actually wasn't a problem he'd caused. The after-sales team had misconfigured something, so Tech Guy didn't have a procedure for fixing this error and didn't have the deeper product knowledge that would have let him know that it was a configuration problem, not a programming problem. I curtly reminded him that I didn't work there anymore and couldn't fix this problem, but feeling sorry for him, I did tell him what had been misconfigured and to take it back to the after-sales team so they could fix it. Unfortunately, it seemed like the appropriate knowledge holders on that team had also been let go, and despite there being an instruction document for configuring this particular aspect of the program, I know because I helped write it, it was bounced back to Newbie Tech, who called me again a few days later. I was less helpful this time and informed Newbie Tech that as I no longer worked there, I couldn't help and he shouldn't call me again. And you'd think that would be the end of it, but later that day I got an email with a summary of the issue and a request to fix the problem from Bad Boss, the one who had fired me, the one who you'd think should be well aware that I had no longer had access to any of the servers and would not be able to fix anything even if I wanted to, which I didn't. I ignored the email. Edit. I know a lot of people are commenting that it would have been more satisfying to charge a lot of money to solve the problem and that I missed an opportunity to take him down a peg and or make a lot of money. Bad Boss had a habit of ignoring contracts and suing people for breach of contract even if he was the one who broke the contract. I never had evidence to prove so, but he goes so far as to forge documents and signatures. I spent many years eagerly awaiting the next legal fight he'd get into, the next trial, because surely this time he'd lose everything and go to jail. But real life is disappointing. Somehow dudes like Bad Boss never run out of money or lawyers. He went through a lot of lawyers. Almost a decade on, I'm actually still thrilled with the decision to ignore him and have no contact whatsoever with him after that point. People like Bad Boss thrive on conflict. It's enjoyable to think of winning against him, but for me, I still take a small pleasure in looking back and knowing that I became, to him, the only thing that he cannot fight, avoid. Bad Boss thought he could clean house, get rid of everyone who actually knew how to run the company, and then just figure it out later? Classic short-sighted leadership. And our last story. My entitled neighbors kept blocking my driveway, so I solved the problem with my Jeep. For years, I put up with constant headaches from my neighbors, loud music at all hours, trash cans left in the middle of the sidewalk, and worst of all, their entitled guests treating my driveway like a personal parking space. But this was the last straw. One guest in particular, a guy with a late model BMW, thought he was above the rules. Every time he came over, he would block my driveway completely, making it impossible for me to get in or out. The first time it happened, I decided to be civil. I walked over, knocked on the door, and when one of my neighbors answered, I said, "Hey, I need to get out. Can you ask your friend to move his car?" They gave me the usual fake friendly smile and promised, "Oh, of course, we'll have him move it right away." Except they didn't. I waited. Nothing. Had to park on the street and walk home like some stranger in my own neighborhood. The second time it happened, I went over again, a little less polite this time. "Guys, this is the second time. I need my driveway clear." Again, all smiles, all promises. And again, the BMW sat there, unmoved. That was it. Strike 3. I own a very well-built Jeep rock crawler. It's my pride and joy, lifted, modified, and built for crushing whatever gets in its way. And now, that BMW was about to find out exactly what it felt like to be beneath my wheels. The next time I came home and saw it blocking my driveway again, I didn't even bother knocking on their door. I didn't waste another second asking politely. I fired up my Jeep, put it into low gear, and drove straight over the top of that overpriced tin can. The moment I rolled off the crumpled remains of his car, I heard screaming from the house. The owner of the BMW came charging out of my neighbor's front door, red-faced and flailing like an angry toddler. "What the hell did you do?" he screeched, running toward the wreck of his car. I stepped out of my Jeep, calm as ever, and shrugged. "Oh man, I didn't even see it there. Maybe you should park in a legal spot next time." By now, the neighbors had come outside too, gasping in horror at the absolute carnage I'd left behind. "You're paying for this," the BMW guy roared. "I don't think so," I said, crossing my arms. Your car was illegally parked in front of my driveway. Accidents happen. That's when he pulled out his phone and called the cops. Perfect. When the officers showed up, I didn't even break a sweat. The BMW guy was still ranting and raving, pointing at his crushed luxury car and demanding I be arrested. My neighbors, of course, backed him up, talking about how I'd gone too far and how this was completely uncalled for. Then the cop turned to me. "Sir, what happened here?" I kept my voice even. "Well, officer, I came home and found my driveway blocked. I've asked them multiple times not to park here, and they ignored me, so I pulled in as best I could and, well, accidents happen." The officer walked around the scene, eyeing the flattened BMW before asking the golden question, "Was this vehicle parked legally?" I smirked. "Nope. Blocking a driveway is illegal in this city. Feel free to write a ticket for it while you're here." And just like that, the wind was completely knocked out of BMW guy's sails. The cop turned to him and said, "He's right, you were illegally parked. Technically, this falls under an accident, and we don't enforce damages in civil matters." The guy's face twisted in fury, "But he crushed my car!" The cop just shrugged. "Yeah, and you shouldn't have parked there." My neighbor started whining and pleading, but it didn't matter. The BMW guy got slapped with a ticket for illegal parking, and I walked away completely off the hook. After that glorious day, no one has dared to block my driveway again. The neighbors avoid me like the plague, which is perfectly fine by me. The BMW guy had to get his car towed away, and I didn't have to pay a single cent for it. Wow, this is just gorgeous. How many times do you have to be nice before people realize that, no, your driveway is not public property? You were patient, you gave them 3 chances, they took your kindness for weakness, and that BMW paid the ultimate price. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.